Welcome to Podcast 83, a regular look at the news, stories, and trends related to Michigan's 83 counties from the Michigan Association of Counties.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Podcast 83, the podcast put on by the Michigan Association of Counties. Today, we are joined by Sarah Klein and Kaitlynn Lamie, who are going to talk a little bit about 211, Alice within 211, a lot of developments going on there. They were recently at our legislative conference here in Lansing about a month ago. So welcome, Sarah, Kaitlynn. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right, so why don't we start talking 211 in general? Kind of give us an overview for the county commissioners, administrators, folks who are listening that may not be familiar. I know a lot of people are already familiar with 211, but how about a brief overview of that, and then let's talk a little bit about some of the newer developments within 211.
Awesome. So 211 is your 3-digit number to call in case of crisis, not emergency. That's 911. We're going to leave that there. We learned that since we were little kiddos. 211 is the place we go. Since 2017, every county in Michigan is covered with a simple 3-digit number when you're looking for assistance. So you don't have to figure it out on your own. We have trained nationally accredited folks who 24 hours a day, 7 days a week are waiting to find resources for individuals in your community. The most common, really, housing, food, utilities. Those are the basic needs, but we also do a lot of really interesting things, including for our counties, I would say. We do disaster response. So when a county has a disaster, we're standing right next to them so that folks aren't calling 911 or their county emergency management to find out if a road is closed or if FEMA has released funds. So we step in with our counties, with their permission, of course, when there's a disaster. We also are there when folks need to find all kinds of resources. Really, my friends, if you have a veteran service officer, believe me, they know about 211. We work hand in hand with our veteran service lines if there's a community out there, if you have a project, believe me, there's a place for a 211 there because we want to make sure people have information. So, I think of my municipality here in our city. We partner very often with our Council on Aging, with our Disability Network. Those are all places where we know the very most up-to-date information. We can send people that way. And it's all free. It's confidential. It's 3 digits, right? When someone's struggling, someone stops you in the grocery store and I know I'm a leader. We've been there, right? And they want to tell you about a friend who has an issue. The very best thing you can do, you're not passing the buck. You're giving the very best information by saying dial 211. You can text us as well at TXT 211. So people who may not have the option to call right away, they can text their zip code to TXT 211. It's 898-211. People can visit us online at my211.org. That's MY works as well. So however you can get us information, believe me, we are a team full of people who, thanks to the support of many of our counties support their 211, but thanks to our United Ways, to our counties, to the state of Michigan for supporting us, we're there all the time for people in Michigan.
Great. That's a great resource to have. I know it's been around for a while, and it does, if you go to the website, the my211.org, you can really see the vast categories that are covered there. It's really, really a lot and super helpful, I'm sure, for our county commissioners. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the newer developments. I know you were at our conference talking a little bit about Alice. Can you give us an update on Alice?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to pass this right on to my friend, Kaitlynn.
Happy to jump in on Alice. So Alice is a study. It stands for Asset Limited Income Constrained Employed. We've had it here in the state since 2014, so going on 10 years of Alice data. And this is really looking at folks who are working but they're still struggling to make ends meet. And so there's just not enough resource at the end of the day. We are fortunate that our Alice data, our Alice report is sponsored by the Consumers Energy Foundation. And we just released new data back just about a week ago, May 22nd. The newest data came out on Alice, which showed that we have 100,000 new households in Michigan that fall below that ALICE threshold. They're working, but they don't earn enough money to hit that ALICE budget, which is really just the bare bones necessity that you need to work and live in a modern economy. So we're looking at things like housing and transportation, childcare, which is a huge barrier for so many of our families in Michigan. And really what we do here is we look at what is the data that 211 tells us? What's the data that ALICE tells us? And how do we utilize those resources to help all of our partners, our counties, invest the best way they can in their communities and be as strategic as possible with the resources that you all have available and that we have available to help, make an impact on Michigan families' lives.
Great. I think Sam's going to chime in here with a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Yeah, Kaitlynn, is there a place that our commissioners or administrators or other folks can go to check on ALICE data and see what the information is in their communities?
Yeah, absolutely. So unitedforalice.org goes to our national partners homepage. United for Alice is a national movement, 33 states across the country, but there is a incredibly comprehensive online research center. So if you go to state partners, it's a tab right up at the top and click on Michigan. You can take a look at county level data. We get it as granular as zip codes on a number of different metrics. You can use our calculators to look at all different types of family compositions to understand what ALICE may mean for a single senior versus a family who has 2 kids in childcare. And we actually just, again, about 2 weeks ago, launched a new data source called Indicators of Well-Being. It's over 40 different indicators that all touch on some level of health and human services and the way that families in Michigan experience ALICE. That was with huge thanks to the Michigan Credit Union Foundation who sponsored that work. But really interesting to take a look at county level access to things like number of homes with broadband internet, or folks who have who are extremely housing burdened or have something called housing problems, which is when you're a homeowner, but you also have some sort of severe structural issue with your home, like a roof that needs to be repaired. We know those resources are hard to come by. So that online research center is really a place of gold. And I would also encourage folks when they're on that research center to check out the economic viability dashboard, which is really kind of our metric of looking at how livable are communities for ALICE families. And you can look at a county level and even compare at a county level too.
That's great. That's nice information to have. Now, when you guys have been around county commissioners a few times, I think recently, both at our conference, and I think you guys presented a committee. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think you might have talked to one of our committees. What are you finding that is the most questions you get from local officials, county officials about 211 ALICE, about all this that may be helpful for folks that are listening?
Sarah, you want to talk about 211 and our
I
county
would
commissioners?
love to. I would love to. Again, I think sometimes I hesitate because I could go on and on about this. One of the things I hear the most is, "Oh, we kind of forgot about that." And I understand it, right? If it's not your everyday, right? They taught us 911 when before we could, add 2 plus 2. They taught us about that, so it was ingrained in us. But 211, because we've been statewide only since 2017, I think our commissioners, I think our counties, I think the average individual sometimes forgets. And it's a really unfortunate because there are so many beautiful things happening in our state, projects and just really neat things happening, grant proposals, even people dreaming about how to serve people better. And 211 is your source, right? We have, thankfully, with the support of our United Ways, with the support of our counties, some counties really are the main support for 211 in their community. I think we've learned how to stretch and serve Michiganders in new ways, in really powerful ways. And the only way we can do that is if we sit next to you, right? If we sit next to commissioners, if we sit next to council folks, because they're going to understand their community better than Kaitlynn and I, better than just about anyone. And we want to do that with our leaders, with all community members. So I think that's the biggest thing is we hear, "Oh, I kind of forgot about 211." And then we get to share with them really some cool stuff that we're doing, including reporting our data on our my211.org/legislators. So that's by state legislative district. We really want people to understand that we can pull reports for them. So if they're looking at, man, we have this grant opportunity for our community, how should we invest? Between the ALICE data and 211 data, we can paint a picture of your community, but we can't do it fully without the community as well. So that's my favorite thing, is when they say, hey, what's 211 up to? That's my favorite question to answer, because I get to talk about community information exchange, where we're coming together and we're just locking arms, and we're doing this with our United Ways, with our community leaders. And then 211 gets to support all of that work. Kaitlynn, what about you?
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest questions we get asked is, how can we apply all of this data into practice? Because data is great. I think we're all fascinated by, like, what are the numbers? What do the numbers say? But just like Sarah said, numbers are one thing, but community context is another. And so how do we, collectively take our own unique lens, the work that we do, the stories that we hear, the folks who we work alongside, and apply that to what the data shows us? And so we are often talking about, when you look at ALICE or the ALICE data, how can we take this specific community information and, be really proactive in our structural approaches to solving community issues? And so I think that that's the biggest question, is like, how do I apply what I've learned from ALICE data? And what I'm so grateful for is that with ALICE being here in the state for 10 years, we've already started to see that vernacular change. 10 years ago, all we had to measure community need against was federal poverty level, which is just so woefully ill-equipped to define what need is in our state. And so here we have an ability to say, like, who's actually getting access to services, who's missing, what are the things that we need to do that particularly fit the needs of our ALICE families who are above FPL and still below the ALICE threshold. And I think that that's where a really unique opportunity comes from.
Yeah, Sarah, you talked on, you guys both spoke on the data component, but Sarah, you kind of kicked it off a little bit by saying, hey, we kind of forgot about 211. Are there resources available for commissioners to take advantage of, to help pass on, like, hey, don't forget about 211? Is there marketing resource, or are there things like that that they can do within their communities to help pass on that, hey, folks, there is this, you can take advantage of this. This will help you, or there may be some help for you.
Yeah, I know this is recorded for the public. So I hope I don't get in trouble. We'll see if Kaitlynn gets, if I get in trouble. But what I would say is, go on our website and steal the logo. You know, get on there. There's one pagers. There's all kinds of resources. We're a public service in Michigan. We answer to the Michigan Public Service Commission. We genuinely want to get out there and to get in front of people. The only reason we exist is to offer assistance when people have the courage to ask for it. So I would say it depends on what community you live in. There's 7 individual local contact centers. So if you go to my211.org about us, you can find the exact contact information for your center, or you can reach out to my Michigan 211. We help to coordinate for each of the centers. We support them. We work for them, making sure that they're strong. So most of our centers will send out free promotional material. I always say, pick up the phone and dial. Honestly, create a relationship with your 211 director. If that's not, man, info@my211.org. We will find a way to get you information, even if it's something that, is a digital, something you can throw on a newsletter. You can throw on something that goes out with your property taxes. There's all kinds of resources to get the information, but I would put it on a quarterly reminder. When your commissioners are going to township meetings, when they're going, they should be reminding folks that if they have a need, they should reach out to 211. And again, it can be as simple for your commissioners as picking up the phone and saying, I'm a commissioner for this county and I'd like to talk to the director and see what kind of relationship we can have, to see if there's a specific county report that we can get sent to us quarterly. Is there something that we can do so that we're using this public service in a way that serves the people of our community? Because you know, none of us are commissioners or council folks, or we're not doing this for the fame and fortune. We're doing it because we love our communities, right? And that's what we want to help with. So yeah, pick up the phone and dial 211, go to my211.org, the About Us section, they can find the local contact, or email info@my211.org, and we will do that for you. Just tell us what you're looking for and we can help you.
Great. Yeah, that's great to know. Sam, did you have any questions?
No questions, but I'll add this. At the height of the pandemic, I worked in the state house, and too often constituents reached out to their legislators saying, "Hey, I cannot afford my rent, my utilities, bus fare, I lost my car. What do I do?" And more often than not, the answer was call 211. And many times we had constituents reach back out to us and thank us because they didn't know of 211 and that you guys were there to help them. So the services that you guys provide are phenomenal, and it goes a long way.
Yeah,
Samantha, that's the kind of stuff. I'm so sorry, Steve. That's the kind of stuff we live for. Thank you for sharing that. And not always can we find resources, right? We are a reflection of the community. So if the resource is not there, but you're still talking to someone who is listening, who can help find other things, because rent right now, just about everywhere is tough. But thank you for sharing that, Samantha. You've made my that's just beautiful. Thank you.
yeah, that's a great plug there, Sam. Kaitlyn, Sarah, is there anything you guys wanted to add before we close things out today that I may not have asked?
Can
I
I
think,
just add,
oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, Kaitlyn,
No,
as always,
Sarah,
I
go.
know I just start jumping in because I get to talk about the service, but I do know there are so many county commissioners, county leaders all over who've supported 211, whether it's letters of support for funding or letters of support to get the service in their community. And like I said, there are many counties that they are the primary support for 211 in their community. So I'd like to say thank you. It means the world to communities when we know that they're on our side, that they're supporting us, right? We want to make sure to serve your community the very best way possible. So any county leadership, we are thrilled with your support. And then if you support your local United Way, I just want to say thanks, because that's another revenue of support that means the world to services like ours. Kaitlyn?
Yeah, I echo the thanks as well. But then I just want to say that we're here to be partners. All of our data, everything we do is nothing without the context that gets added and the action that happens at local communities. So any space or place that we can be to support the work that happens on the ground, that's what we're here to do. We want to inform, we want to be good stewards of the information that we have. And we're just happy to be alongside you all today at conferences, at committee meetings, and all the things.
Well, great. Thank you to both of you for joining us today. It certainly is a great resource in our communities that everyone should be taking advantage of if they need it, and some great data there too to look into. So thanks for joining us today. Thank you everyone for listening, and have a great week.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Podcast 83.